My name is Alberto, and I am a veterinarian in the small, tranquil town of Vale Verde in the interior of Sao Paulo. I never imagined that our quiet community would be shaken by a series of mysterious events that would challenge everything I believed in. It all started on a hot summer night in 2013. It was a night like any other when I received an urgent phone call from my friend, Oliveira, a farmer. His voice sounded nervous as he told me about one of his goats, found dead in bizarre circumstances. Upon arriving at the farm, I found him standing next to the lifeless body of the goat, his eyes filled with fear and confusion. The scene was intriguing. The goat lay on the ground, with no visible wounds but completely pale, as if all the blood had been drained from its body. In the following days, more goats met the same tragic fate. Conversations in town began to revolve around a legendary and feared figure, the chupacabras. As a man of science, I hesitated to accept this supernatural explanation. However, as more animals were found completely bloodless with small punctures on their necks, it became difficult to ignore the disturbing pattern. The nights became fraught with tension and fear. Farmers, armed with flashlights and tools, kept watch over their herds, determined to protect their livestock from the unknown threat. I joined them, resolved to uncover the truth behind the strange occurrences. One night, while we were observing Mr. Oliveira's herd, sitting silently under the full moon, something broke the tranquility. A sharp cry from one of the goats echoed through the night, followed by a bone-chilling silence. We rushed towards the sound, fearing the worst. And there it was, another goat, motionless on the ground, bearing the same mysterious marks. But this time, there was something different. Strange, almost reptilian tracks could be seen around the body. The entire town was on high alert. People started locking their doors at dusk, afraid of what might lurk in the shadows. Children, fascinated and terrified by the stories of the chupacabras, avoided playing outside after sunset. It was as if a dark cloud hung over Vale Verde. I decided to take a bolder approach. With the help of some friends, we installed surveillance cameras on several farms, hoping to capture concrete evidence of the creature responsible for the attacks. The nights became a test of endurance, as we anxiously awaited any appearance on the screens. Then, finally, on a moonless night, when darkness enveloped everything, something appeared on the cameras. The figure was tall and slender, with eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. Its movement was supernaturally graceful, almost as if it were floating. It approached a sleeping goat, and with incredible speed, sank its teeth into the animal's neck. We watched, petrified, as blood flowed down the creature's throat. The next morning, I examined the goat's body. The punctures were surgical, indicating teeth as sharp as blades. There were no signs of struggle, suggesting that the goat had been immobilized by some sort of supernatural ability. The eyes of the animal, once gentle, were now whitened, as if they had witnessed an indescribable horror. Days turned into weeks, and the attacks continued. The creature always seemed one step ahead of us, striking when we least expected it. The sense of powerlessness was overwhelming. Despite our efforts, the chupacabras seemed invincible. Eventually, the attacks ceased as mysteriously as they had begun. The town of Vale Verde breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the shadow of fear remained. People began to speculate about the creature's whereabouts, some believing it had moved on to other regions, while others feared it was merely biding its time in the darkness, ready to emerge again. To this day, I wonder about the true nature of what we faced. I was just a child in the 1970s, growing up in the quiet town of Juiz de Fora, Minas Gerais. My name is Mario, and I remember the cold nights when stories of a mysterious figure called Capa Preta began to circulate around town. He was a man shrouded in mystery, always seen wandering the streets with a black cape that hid his face. As the story spread, a mantle of fear settled over our once peaceful town. On moonless nights, I would hear the whispers of adults about Capa Preta. They spoke of his sinister eyes hidden beneath the shadow of his hood and his ominous presence in the alleys and lanes. As hysteria grew, panic took hold of our hearts. Capa Preta was not content to be a mere observer. He was an aggressor, a being of pure malevolence. People reported being attacked by him, describing an immense strength and an indescribable sense of terror. Our town, once a haven of peace, now lived in a constant state of alert, with families locking up their homes at night, fearing the touch of evil. Vigilante groups formed, consisting of men and women determined to hunt down Capa Preta and deliver justice. But their quest for vengeance was sometimes blind, leading to attacks on innocent individuals who fit their profile. I recall a priest, a good soul, who was mistaken for the assailant due to his cassock. He became a victim of the mob's misguided justice. The situation spiraled out of control to the extent that the army had to be called in. Soldiers patrolled the streets, their weapons at the ready, their eyes vigilant. But Capo Preta was like a shadow, always disappearing when they drew near. The town became a battlefield, with the enemy always one step ahead. Then, on a dark night that is still etched in my memory, the town was shaken by a shocking development. On the banks of the river that cut through our town, a black cape was found carefully folded next to a farewell note. The message was enigmatic, speaking of a misunderstood man, a stranger in his own land. The author of the note confessed that he sought oblivion in the dark waters, unable to bear the burden of being misunderstood by society. Relief swept over the town, but it was short-lived. People still wondered who this mysterious man was. Why did he choose Juiz de Fora for his reign of terror? And what drove him to this path? These questions remained unanswered, leaving a trail of mystery in our wake. As time passed, life returned to normal, but the memory of Capo Preta lingered. We told stories by candlelight, imagining his true identity. The river, a silent witness to his farewell, became a place of fascination and fear. The Capo Preta of Juiz de Fora became an urban legend, a tale told to frighten and intrigue generations. Over the years, facts blended with fiction, creating an even more intricate narrative. We, the inhabitants of this town, always wondering if he was an ordinary man or something supernatural. My name is Pedro, and this is the story of an encounter that haunts me to this day. I grew up listening to urban legends, including the famous Perna Cabeluda, a mysterious figure said to roam the dark streets of northeastern Brazil, terrorizing those who laid eyes on her. I always thought it was just a story to scare children, but one fateful night proved me terribly wrong. It was a dark night, and I was walking home after playing football with my friends. I was crossing a dimly lit alley, my hands in my pockets, when my eyes caught something unusual in the corner of my vision. I stopped in my tracks, my heart racing with surprise. There at the end of the alley I saw a strange and unusual shape. As I drew closer, my body stiffened as I realized it was a leg larger than normal, covered in short, dark hair. The leg seemed to move on its own, as if it had a life of its own. I stood paralyzed, my mind struggling to comprehend what I was seeing. The leg writhed and moved as if it were alive, its hair rippling slightly with the motion. I felt fear course through my body, and a primal instinct of dread settled within me. Without thinking, I took a step back, and then, as if the leg had sensed me, it moved. Its movement was a clear indication that it perceived my presence. It crawled towards me, my heart pounded, and my body reacted with a surge of survival instinct. I ran as fast as my legs could carry me, my eyes fixed on the terrifying figure crawling in my direction. The leg moved with surprising speed, its hair swaying with each motion. I screamed for help, my lungs burning with the effort. The dark and winding streets of my town became a labyrinth of terror, with the leg relentlessly pursuing me. I turned corners, scaling low walls in a desperate attempt to escape. Finally, I reached home, locking the door behind me with a sigh of relief. My body trembled, and my heart was pounding in my chest. I looked out the window, expecting to see the hairy figure, but it had not followed me home. In the days that followed, I tried to rationalize what had happened. My friends laughed when I told them about the hairy leg, saying it was just my imagination, but I knew it was real. The memory of the encounter haunted me every day. At night, I found myself lying awake, my eyes searching for any sign of the leg in the shadows of my room. My sleep was interrupted by nightmares, seeing the leg crawling towards me. I would wake up drenched in cold sweat, my heart racing with fear. Over time, the memory began to fade, my brain rationalizing the event as a trick of light and shadow, perhaps an illusion created by my mind to forget what I had seen. But even now, years later, I still catch myself looking over my shoulder in dark alleys, expecting to see the hairy figure. Perna Cabeluda, to the world, may be just an urban legend, a story to frighten children. But to me, it is a vivid reminder of an encounter with the unknown. If you enjoyed the video you just watched, you won't want to miss this next one. Click now and I'll see you there.